Accessing mental health care isn't always easy, and too often the people who need it most face the greatest barriers. On this segment of Legal Connections, we're joined by Jamie Olofsson from Ellie Mental Health in Orlando, who is working to make therapy approachable and affordable for Orlando families and beyond. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
In Central Florida, are there unique issues for your space in mental health?
Yeah, getting into mental health personally, it was about utilizing it to make life transitions, overcome little things that you may not think for mental health. And I think the barrier is messaging and getting rid of the stigma that mental health is taboo. And that's starting to gain a lot of traction as far as like not being thought down upon. The other limitations is accessibility. Like there, a lot of the clinicians, struggle with taking insurance, or they don't have the right infrastructure, and making it affordable. So it's a balance between just the stigma and you have to kind of embrace it for it to work, and also the models of how to afford it.
Well, tell us a little bit about the people you're serving and
Yes.
some of the challenges. You said affordability, but what are some of the issues for your clients?
So with our LE clinic, it's part of a franchise system, but we have one location in Orlando, and we're going to be moving to 3. And we specifically chose a community of Avalon Park because we wanted to embed ourselves in a community to have an impact on that community. And the biggest thing is, for us, we have to meet the needs of that community. So we have to make sure we have the right counselors and therapists that can do play therapy, can do art therapy, eating disorders. We have a lot of specialists who can do those things as well as generalized mental health issues, depression, anxiety, things that a lot of folks face. So that is kind of hard part, identifying your niche audiences and building your clinicians around that. And yes, the accessibility, making sure that you are part of the community so the doctors know to refer you, they're aware of your services, and that's the other part of his awareness.
Very interesting, and a lot of people who end up in the legal system have mental health challenges. So when you say making sure you're in the system and people know that you're seeing a provider in the first place, how can we make, I guess, that issue a little more workable as it pertains to criminalizing mental health challenges?
No, yeah, very true. I think when you're inside the legal systems, or you're working your way through it, a lot of it is you're dealing with the stigma, what people think of you in that environment. So you're not so keen on going into therapy. So the first thing I recommend, or we should look at, is really just educating folks on what mental health is and why it's important and how it's treated. It's not as talk therapy is about discovering your best self, and you can do that whether you're inside incarceration or outside. But a lot of folks just aren't embracing it, and the hardest thing about mental health is if you don't embrace it, it's a lot harder to get through.
And I'm thinking, as you're talking about embracing it, how do people recognize when it's time or when it's considered a mental health challenge, right? Because we're taught everyone's different. Your quirks aren't my quirks. What would you say to people who need some guidance as to when it's serious enough to seek a mental health professional?
Yeah, and it's really about how it's affecting your life. Like, everyone goes through stresses daily, weekly, like it varies in degrees, but it's to each his own, their own stress levels and how they deal with it. You're right. But if you're finding yourself like over 2 weeks ruminating on something, it's affecting your sleep, you're getting too much sleep, you're not getting enough sleep, like some of your routine is not normal and it's affecting how your daily routine runs, you probably should at least consult a mental therapist to kind of say, hey, is this normal or not? Like, doctors can help, but if it's not physical, mental therapists can help guide you through that.
And as it pertains to our loved ones, and recommending someone, sometimes that's risky too. Whether they're going to be Baker acted, like how far do you go with trying to help a loved one once you make this observation? Are there What are the baby steps, I guess, to
I-
before it gets escalated?
Yeah, I think it's, when you're seeing a loved one go through a mental crisis or a mental situation, their lives are switched. They're definitely doing things that they didn't do before, and it's that same for yourself. So once you acknowledge that in someone else, it is about being an advocate for them and supporting them with their mental health, making it a positive spin, even though they're going through something, but presenting mental health as a positive way to address it, because you can use medications from psychiatrists, and a lot of times we coordinate that, but a lot of times you can get through these without having to take medications or do things that are out of your normal, and it's basically just making sure you get connected to folks and having them educated, talking to people and understand what the process is.
Okay, so attorneys are under high stress. Do you have any practical tips for people in the legal profession? There's some pretty scary statistics out there.
Absolutely, and I think to this day it's the legal environment. It's everyone facing stresses that they didn't have in the past. But you guys work a lot of long hours, hard deadlines, high pressure situations, and the first thing I would recommend is find your own space. Don't if you let that consume you, you won't have any balance in your life. So making sure that you're carving out time in the day to do things that you like, a hobby, breathing, meditation, journaling, writing. You have to find your specific thing that you want to do, and that would help in kind of creating that balance. The other thing is, therapy can help it because it can help create that sense of like, okay, I'm going through this, but this is not me. This is something I'm going through. And you can kind of get some distance from a very difficult situation by understanding some coping mechanisms or tools that are taught through mental health.
I love that. And then there's just what's that saying that this moment doesn't define the rest of my life type of thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Oh, it can feel that way too.
Yeah, right. Well, thank you so much for coming on and sharing a bit about your work and the people you're working with and for, and some coping mechanisms.
Yeah, this is great. I enjoyed my time here. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mental health affects all of us, and Jamie, alongside Ellie Mental Health, is showing us what it means to meet people where they are.